Hello viewers, here is a set of Uniden DECT cordless telephones. This is the model DECT1580. There's the informations. This particular configuration is the DECT1580-3. This is the newer one that takes the 8 volts power supply, and it has the smaller buttons on the handset compared to the older version, which has the larger, slightly larger buttons. It's not a huge difference in size, but it definitely is different, and you can feel the difference when you're typing on it. Anyways, these telephones were one of the last things I purchased on eBay quite a while ago before I gave up on the site. They were shipped in a bag. Everything was just thrown in a bag, and then that bag was put into a padded flat rate envelope. And I just found it funny, because I found it comical how people can be so on point with some things and then just totally clueless about others. These came with Fluorion batteries. I thought these were really good batteries. They don't make them anymore, but I've used these myself and had very good results. They even took the time to put a piece of paper into one of the compartments indicating when the battery was changed. All the cables were coiled up nicely as if they were installed neatly, and yet they just throw the thing into a bag and send it through the postal service. And so of course naturally everything got all jacked up as it passed through, the shipping process, all scratched up and everything. So it's in pretty poor cosmetic condition. But I think what I'll do is I'll bring the set to work if it's in good working order and replace that Panasonic set that I have there, because I just don't particularly like that telephone. This is the power supply. The model number is the PS0035, which is an 8 volt at 300 milliamp power supply. It is the AC output, which is just weird. I don't know why they're doing that now. Uniden always used to use a standard 9 volt DC power supply, which was very easy to find. Now there's these funny, very small AC oddball voltage power supplies, which I just think is annoying. It must have been some kind of a cost-cutting measure, because a lot of companies are doing that now, and Uniden definitely started to take shortcuts on their phones right before they stopped selling them here in the US. And even though they definitely took some shortcuts with this particular version, I think it's still a great telephone, and I'm very fond of it. So we have 23 messages on here. I'm going to go ahead and clear those out because I've already deleted them. I mean, okay, that doesn't make any sense. I have already imported them. That's not really true either. I've already recorded them into the camera, so they're saved. Okay, so it's connected now. We should have dial tone. These batteries are not working anymore, which is unfortunate, because it's hard to find these higher capacity nickel metal hydride batteries. So I just put other ones in there for now. I think these only failed because they were sitting connected to the phone in the package for several months before I got to them. Had I disconnected them right after they arrived, and they were only sitting discharged for a couple of days or a week, that might not have been so bad. The other item where the person was kind of paying attention was they deleted the caller ID log before they sent it to me. Alright, so let's begin by calling these up. Looks like that's working. I don't know what the answer machine settings are. Let's take a look. They had it on toll saver. Okay. Okay, let's record a message in there and see how the answer machine is working. I don't really use the answer machine at work, but in case I do for whatever reason, I'll make sure that it's operating correctly.
Hello, no one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. This is my message that I'm going to leave after the tone. Gotta make sure there's plenty of wind noise.
One new message.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. This is my message that I'm going to leave after the tone. Gotta make sure there's plenty of wind noise.
End of messages.
That actually sounded surprisingly clear. I wasn't expecting it to sound that good.
One old message.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. This is my message that I'm going to leave after the tone. Gotta make sure there's plenty of wind noise.
End of messages.
It definitely doesn't sound great, but for a Digitan machine that's fairly cheap, not bad. Alright, let's go to the outside line and make a call.
Fishing in a mountain stream is my idea of a good time.
After the dance, they went straight home. The hostess taught the new maid to serve.
Adding fast leads to wrong sums. The show was a flop from the very start.
There was water in the cellar after the heavy rain.
Large size stockings is hard to sell. The juice of lemons makes fine punch.
Smoke poured out of every crack. Serve the hot rum to the tired heroes.
Those words were the cue for the actor to leave. A yacht slid around the point into the bay.
The place seems dull and quite stupid. Thieves who rob friends.
Okay, that sounds good.
Failed to fool the mouse.
He wrote the last novel there at the inn. Even the worst will beat his low score.
A saw is a tool used for making boards. The wagon moved on well-oiled wheels.
They are pushed back each time they attack.
The box was thrown beside the parked truck. The hogs were fed chopped corn and garbage.
Much of the story makes good sense. The sun came up to light the eastern sky.
The two met while playing on the sand. The ink stain dried on the finished page.
Okay, that one sounds good as well.
It leads to wrong sums. The show was a flop from the very start.
The cement had dried when he moved it. The loss of the second ship was hard to take.
March the soldiers past the next hill. A cup of sugar makes sweet fudge.
He broke his ties with groups of former friends. They floated on the raft to sun their white backs.
These days, a chicken leg is a rare dish. Rice is often served in round bowls.
The desk was firm on the shaky.
Okay, that seems to be working good as well. Make sure all the buttons work. Seems like it. Okay. Okay, buttons are all good in there. Now I'll record a testing message to make sure the transmit is okay.
2 new messages and 10 old messages. The memory is full. Please erase your messages. Message 1. Hello, this is the very first testing message being recorded from this Uniden DECT1580-3 Digitan answering system cordless telephone. I am going to leave the studio now and traverse across the room. Make sure the distance is good on this particular handset. I suspect that it would be. Uniden phones are quite reliable, but you never know. Sometimes equipment breaks. Okay, I'm all the way across the room now, so hopefully it's still working just fine. I hear a little bit of side tone, not as much as I would like, but there's a little bit more than you can get on a lot of newer phones like these. Okay, back in the studio now. Going to switch the phone over to the speakerphone. Okay, now it's on the speakerphone, and I'm speaking at about the same volume and distance as I was before. So this will give us a good comparison in the audio pickup quality and volume between talk and speakerphone. Okay, now I'm going to set the phone down on the table. Okay, the telephone has been set down on the table, and I'm speaking right above it, about a foot away. I'm going to start backing away from the telephone now. This is about 2 feet away from the telephone. If I'm using the telephone at work on speakerphone, it would probably just be sitting near my computer keyboard, which I would also be sitting near. And this is probably about the distance at which I'd be using it. And I know from just using these telephones for so many years as my primary set that they work pretty fine at this distance. Okay, I'm going to move back further. This is about 3 feet away from the telephone, 4 feet away from the telephone. And this, again, is that distance where I kind of gauge it being a good speakerphone or not a very good speakerphone. I expect it to work satisfactorily at this distance, but not all that much further. Although knowing these phones, I think they will work further than that. This is about 6 feet away, 7, 8, 9, 10, and this is 11. This is all the way across the room. And I suspect that it should still be picking up, albeit not the greatest. But it should still be picking up. Okay, I'll go ahead and end this message by hanging up into the base.
2.
This is testing message number 2 from handset number 2 on speakerphone. And now this is the handset on talk. Over and out.
End of messages.
There was no message for handset number 3 because the unit filled up, but I checked it myself and it sounded just fine. So as you heard in those testing messages, the pickup on these phones is fantastic. The modulation of talk mode is super clear and very loud, and the modulation of the speakerphone at the 2 to 4 foot distance is really quite good. You know, I'm continually amazed by the audio quality of these phones. These were not expensive phones. This was a pretty bare bones economy model, and it doesn't have a whole lot of features, but what it has, it does phenomenally, and it makes and receives the best calls. And that's why I have used this model, not exclusively but primarily, for the last decade, and I continue to use it because it is just a phenomenal phone and it sounds great. And when it comes down to it, the phone can have all the features in the world, but if it doesn't sound good, I don't care. And this phone, it's simple, it's easy to use, it's reliable, it lasts a long time, and it sounds great.